We've been running pretty high throughout the summer, and that's usually the case. The summertime, you usually do get more people in our detention center. You know, there's a couple factors that give that, you know, that allows that to happen. Mm-hmm. And one of them is the courts slow down in the summertime. There's not as much sentencing. Also, there's more people in town and more people out and about, so we do get more inmates during that time frame. Hopefully, in the wintertime, it'll slow down a little bit for us. But again, with the situation the state's in, with their overcrowding, and we're waiting for beds not only in the male prison in Deer Lodge, but in the female prison in Billings. We can't get beds, so so we're holding on to a lot of inmates that way also.
So it really, a lot of these are just people that are there. They've been sent to the Department of Justice or DOC.
They're waiting for the DOC commitments.
They're waiting to get in there.
So some are waiting for the DOC commitments. Some are on probation and parole and are waiting to get put back into their programs. Some are just just are misdemeanors that just can't afford to bond out. There was one time though this summer that everybody we had in jail were felons, so we couldn't get rid of anybody. We couldn't, Judge Granger or the misdemeanor judges could not release anybody due to the fact that they were all felons in there. So we do run into that, waiting for people to get into prison, pre-sentence investigations and stuff and such.
And I know you guys often have I've seen it. You guys have been. It does get high during the summer, but 94. That seems more higher than I've seen it in the past.
Not really. I mean, that's pretty much what it's been running at.
Okay.
I mean, again, we have 70-some full-time beds, 75 full-time beds, but we do also have beds that we set aside for booking and transitional type inmates, inmates that are waiting to get declassified. So we have those type of beds. We also have a cell block that's set aside for inmates that do have special issues or do cause us problems.
So you're using beds that aren't made for, or rooms, holding cells that aren't made for long term. These are like you're using your temporary ones.
Some of the rooms we're using aren't made for long term, but there are cell blocks that are set aside, but they're set up with beds and toilets and showers, just like every other cell block. We do have some beds in our detention facility in the booking areas that aren't set up for full time, and we don't house in there long term in those rooms because it's a hardship on our staff and it's a hardship on the inmate.
Yeah, but you are using some of those.
Not for full time. No, we're using the booking in, and they'll stay there overnight.
Oh, okay.
Until they get classified.
How with this running like this in the 90s? How is this for your staff? What are some of the problems or issues that you have to deal with when it's this high?
When it's this high, there's a lot of the inmates aren't happy. I mean, they're crowded and they're at full capacity. You're running two inmates per cell basically. So there's no downtime for the inmate. They don't get a whole lot of alone time. If we have issues separating the inmates and that kind of management stuff is more difficult. Also, we're feeding.
But is this difficult? What kind of logistical problems does the staff have to deal with? How is it difficult on them?
Well, movement of inmates is difficult. Our staff doesn't increase because we don't increase our staff as inmates increase. So if we're running a staff of 4 people on shift, whether we have 60 beds full or 90 beds full, we're running with the same amount of staff. So it's a lot more work for them in getting the inmates what they need and getting them to the doctors, getting them to the recreation area, and inmate movement becomes more difficult.
Yeah, I guess that could be, and obviously you can get tensions in there between inmates because they're not happy when they're crowded. Yeah,
that's true, and especially in the summertime when they're crowded and the weather is it's 90 degrees inside those cell blocks. So, and that makes it more difficult too.
How much staff do you have at the prison? How much staff do you guys?
Total staff over there, I think we're running at about 40, and that includes cooks and everything, I believe.
So about 40?
Yeah.
Is that at one time there, or do they run shifts?
They run shifts, 3 separate shifts.
So
there's a day, afternoon graveyard shift, plus there is a special shift that works day shift for inmate movements, such as transportation to hospitals, transportations back and forth to other facilities, back and forth to court, and stuff like that.
So during a shift, how many people would be in jail?
It depends. Day shift, you run at about 6 or 7 because most inmate movement happens on day shift.
Yeah.
Afternoon shift about 5 to 6 in graveyard.
You hope to get some relief on this?
Hopefully, from the state level, we get some relief on it. You know, they haven't really increased their bed support at the prison in a long time, but I think they are mandating more release conditions for inmates and stuff. So.